Hello, my name is Stuart Hunt. I'm the creator of Northern Sound Press, and in a moment, sitting in this chair, you're going to hear a message from Brian Mitchell, the Washington State President of the American Choral Directors Association. And I invite you to listen to Brian's thoughts, Brian's heart, and perhaps use it as a conversation starter between you and your colleagues, or even some of those in the arts community or outside the arts community that need to hear the message of unification, of where our country is headed and why the arts are an important part of that message. Thank you for your time.
So I look at choir, number one, meeting a basic human survival need. To communicate thought and emotion together, plain and simple. So when we're doing music well in choir, more than band, more than playing the piano, you communicate emotion, and lyric communicates thought, and you do them simultaneously. It is profound in its impact on changing people's lives, getting a way to express collectively common human experiences. And we've had it since the dawn of time, since the caveman. We figured out shelter, we got food, and then we made music. And we created art on the walls. It's basic human survival need. And we don't think of it that way, as a survival need. But we're pack animals. Singing together in the middle of the night brings us together. It keeps us around the fire at night when we were cavemen. That's how we survived the tiger in the woods. Music brought us together. The mother singing a lullaby to the child makes a connection. That child will die without mother. The connection is profound, and music brings us together, shares across all cultures, across all time. Basic human survival need. The other part of this, though, in music education, we're going to hit that survival need. We also need to be able to access every culture. Music literacy gives us the ability to hit all across time, across all cultures, across styles, across multiple experiences of music by being able to read it. I can't imagine only having an oral tradition of literature. The only thing you could access would be what you could hear and remember versus what you could go get and read. Learning to read music sets us apart from, I'm going to use the word singers and musicians. People who sing, it's wonderful. It hits the basic human survival need. But musicians can transcend that experience that is given to them and go seek out experiences of their own. It also allows them to engage in more music quicker. If you can read, you don't have to sit around and wait for someone to play your part and try to remember how it goes. You read it off the page, you engage with it, you go to the deeper level faster, and you can process more music. You can experience more things. My choir this week started the Magnificat. We have 5 rehearsals in. In 10 days, we're going to perform with a symphony. Why? Because we read. Because it's not perfect, and there's a little support from the piano, but we've been working on reading skills all the time. So they're following, they're making adjustments. They're like, man, I missed that fourth, it was a third. And they may not know the word, it was a fourth or a third yet. If they're a sophomore in my program, they probably don't know that yet. But they're like, wow, that goes up, and it doesn't quite go up that high. Make a little notation. Why? They know it. They know what to read. They're following their part. They're engaging in the literature. That gives them access to so much music. And my folders are full. We do 120 pieces of music a year in my program. Why? Because we read. And I'm not trying to get everything perfected to the point of months and months and months of nuance always on every piece of music we always do. We have pieces of music that will work well beyond what we've done on the page. But we have some music that, especially as this time of year is so exciting because you hand out music and you're not dependent on rote learning at the piano. They're reading, they're following it, they're catching mistakes. They're like, hey, the alto's over here. This note goes up and we went down. Mr. Mitchell doesn't have a rest there. So the idea that fundamentally music education is a basic survival need, and access to every profound musical thought that's been created and written down since the dawn of time across all cultures, you got to be literate. The concept that singing a piece of music conveys simultaneous emotion and thought. I just had a student come up earlier this year, want a tattoo on her arm. Her sister had this person that was important to her when a message tattooed on her arm when she turned 18 of something that was the most profound thing that had happened to her in her life. This girl came up to me and said, Mr. Mitchell, will you write this phrase out in your handwriting? Because being able to express emotion and thought through music and the experiences we've had in class is the most profound thing in my life. Seniors who get up and do their senior presentations reflect upon the experiences they had in choir, making music together, communicating profound, deep, cathartic experiences through music as the most important thing that they've had in their educational career. They know they can get knowledge other places. They can Google knowledge. They can't Google the experiences that they're having in class. Yeah, I think there's a couple things. One, music, more than anything that I can think of in our society, is keeping us grounded with each other. We are getting to be more of a world where the cell phone and the text and the communication, we have carefully sterilized responses, timed when you want to do it. Music provides us in the moment, person to person, real emotional communication with each other. And we're losing that in society. We're losing that everywhere. That ability to feel something with another person. I find more and more students are afraid to express themselves because they haven't been used to doing it. They're doing so much of it now with their cell phones and texting a cleaned, thoughtful message that has been neutralized of emotion many times. Number two, I think that concept of incremental progress towards, I'm going to say, perfection. Not that the performance needs to be perfect, but the idea that we're always striving to refine to the greatest of our ability to perform pays off in everything that you do if you want to do something that's quality. So much of the time we get in society in a place where we just try to hit the bar. What do you expect as the minimum expectation for me to do what I need to do? Music is about reaching the highest bar you can possibly set for yourself and learning how to get there through practiced, purposeful progress. I think music teaches you how to have conflict and resolve it. And you think about it simply from chords that are dissonant that resolve. The idea that both of those should be there, and that when there is dissonance, we want resolution. That we can find it with each other, that it takes two people to find resolution. You can't resolve it by yourself, musically and in life. The concept that I often say, I get to see the best human beings in the world every day in my classroom as they're sitting here singing, doing the best, most beautiful thing they ever do in their life. They are at their best human being the hour I get to see them every day. When they're in tune with beauty, when they're creating something beyond themselves, when they find strength with each other. A student posted on Facebook years ago, "Choir makes me feel strong." This is an introvert who can be a part of something bigger and stronger and more confident than they ever are outside of the moment of being in that choir. To learn as a collective to seek beauty, to learn how to create it, to learn to appreciate it. We don't do that anymore. There's so little places that we collectively have this experience of harmony, of watching a sunrise. It doesn't happen very often. We run around from day to day. We don't take a moment in our lives just to view, just to look around and see life through a lens of beauty. Music teaches us to seek that. That'll go to everywhere else. You will be able to seek beauty everywhere. One of the big focuses of our National Music Educators Society group is to make sure that everybody has an art form that they've learned to do well, because it'll help them eventually appreciate all of the art forms and all beauty. That you do one thing really well and you understand its components, it transcends itself to other things. And I see that in class all the time. The kids, as they grow and develop, become more sensitive. They care about bigger life. They seem to be able to treat each other with more care, because they don't see things as black and white, but it's in color. I think one of the things that guides us, we find in the transcendental moment, the time where we reached into music collectively and are lost in that space, where nothing else exists for that period of time that we lose track of, and we become a creation collectively, this breathing emotional expression collectively together. Once students have had a sip of that moment, they seek it. They seek it always and everywhere. I was once asked why I sing, and I said, I can't not. I can't imagine a world where I'm not singing. It's a basic part of who I am. It's a basic part of all of us once we've experienced it. It's human. The choral experience is innately human. It's us connecting and singing and communicating together. When you hit that transcendental moment, nothing else matters. And it is peaceful, and it is blissful, and it is a place you want to go back to. You come out of it, and I've seen it so many times where everyone in the room had the same experience, and no one can explain what it is. No one puts words together that come anywhere close to the experience they had collectively. There's this glow of connection and expression. That transcends choir. It transcends conflicts in the hallways. And what I find is that once students have had it, they want it. They seek it. They want to get back to that spot. It's not every day. I mean, the reality is so many other things are getting in the way. And you can get the rest of the world to slow down enough to take the moment to breathe and be in that space. That's when it seems like it happens, when we can slow things down and be present, completely intentive. It's the idea that we're purposely going to create with each other something that has purpose emotionally with each other, that is meant to change the space around us. Intention. You sing with intention. When I see 3, 4, 5, 6, 30 kids start to do that, that's when the magic happens. When every student comes to the idea that their purpose in the moment is to make someone else's life better through their efforts. It's no longer about themselves or what they're getting out of it, but it's what are they creating with other people. It's this thing that gets out in the room, that floats around. It's full of color and beauty and awe. Choir is about the collective. We often talk about present is good enough in most places in life. You're there, participating. It's the A student in class. They do all their work. They get everything taken care of. They're done. They meet the expectation of the bar to get the A. In choir, it's about more than notes and rhythms and words correct and nuance and dynamics. It is ultimately, when all of that is in place, you go beyond that to this creation of connection to each other. This beautiful thing happens in the room that isn't graded. It's not about a grade. It's not about reaching enough. It's about going as far as you can. And it can communicate really well and not be the most refined thing in the world. Sometimes I think I err in my directing sometime in making sure we communicate. If there's only a certain amount of time, if there's 10 units of preparation time, I want to make sure the last 5 are on making sure we're communicating something. The last 3 for sure. I talk about the Big Red Barn. My English teacher in high school, we were looking at poetry, and he's asking us time and time again, what does this poem mean? And we dig into the poem and we pull up these little thoughts of phrases. And he kept saying, you keep pulling up blades of grass. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to find the big red barn that's sitting in the middle of this field. What is this thing about? And oftentimes in music, we are picking up blades of grass. That chord's a little out of tune. We're trying to clean out, Shaw talked about cleaning out the bird cage so the dove can descend, right? You have to clean out the stuff. You have to prepare the way so that beauty can happen. But ultimately, if you're not remembering that beauty is the goal, and all you're trying to do is clean out the bird cage, we forget about that. And sometimes you can have a really beautiful descended moment right there, and there's still a little bit of stuff in the bird cage. If we're looking at each one of those blades of grass, at some point, you have to stop focusing on that and pull back to the big picture and see the big red barn in the middle of it. Music is in our lives, and something's happened to us in America where we collectively have lost our voice, where we, for some reason, have left it to the recordings and the professionals and the gifted. Music's not supposed to be the gifted. Music is every one of us. We all have it in us, and it's not meant to be simply listened to. It's meant to be done. We should be all singing. You ever watch soccer games from across the world? You see cultures breaking into song. We don't break into song. There's a little part of us that's broken, I think, that's been disconnected. I can't tell you why. Can't tell you what has happened, but we've lost our voice. And I think we need to take the lessons from all of these other cultures around the world who have not lost their voice and remember where we came from and who we are. And that singing together makes us vulnerable. And I gotta be honest, in those moments, we're not seeking capitalism. We're not seeking money. And I think sometimes maybe we've lost a focus towards trying to be the wealthiest we can be, as opposed to being the richest we can be.